Welcome to the Real Money Coach. It is Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And you know what we do already? You know what we do? We put into the chat box where you're watching from, what city, what country, wherever you're watching from, put it in the chat box so that we know where you are watching from. We see y'all coming on in. We know we got our regulars. We know we got everybody that's going to be ready to rock this thing tonight. Listen. I normally start our show out with a little chit chat, little current events, this type of thing. And then Michelle and I come in and, we be talking about old times. Michelle and I go back to, well, I was just a baby, but, we go back a long way. She's my wife's best friend. Y'all already know that who watch us. But tonight we have some very special guests that are watching. Listen, we got people from Florida. Thank you, Kevin, for checking in. Anybody else, please check in. But listen, our special guest tonight, we're going to jump right into it because they are actually joining us from an airport. I think they're probably in Hatfield Airport or whatever that airport is in Atlanta, right? The ATL, because they have been invited to go up to Washington to the Congressional Black Caucus weekend events. As you know, many people that I'm associated are there as well, Marlon, and then Dr. George Frazier, which you all know how close I and Dr. Frazier is being honored with the President Biden's Lifetime Achievement Award, and my other mentor, he and his brother are billionaire developers. Michael Roberts is going to be there too. So what I'm going to do without any further ado, we're going to keep this thing moving. We're going to bring on Michelle. Michelle, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Tony?
I'm doing well. What's going on in Kalamazoo?
It's chilly.
It's chilly.
It's chilly.
It's like, I know Lisa Cole, right? I was like, man, it's 75 degrees. She said, yeah, that's cold. We're not used to that anymore. Alice Martin, thank you for checking in. So, Michelle, tonight, we have special guests with us tonight by the person of Ashley Scott and Laura Riley Cooper. Let me tell you something. I am so impressed by these two young ladies and what they're doing with this thing that is called the Georgia Freedom Initiative. Listen, thank you for joining us, Sam, from Raleigh, North Carolina. So because they're in the airport about to board a plane, let's bring them on right now. And so we can talk to these ladies tonight. How you doing, ladies?
We're doing great.
Hello. Welcome.
Excited to be here.
You know what? I'm glad to have you. We had a great time Saturday on the radio show, and really we're looking forward to you guys being a part of our show tonight. And so what I want to do, and I've heard about this Freedom Georgia initiative. We have a mutual friend, Sonny and Chris Sonny are acquaintances of mine. We've done some things with them. But tell us tonight, if you could, what is the Freedom Georgia initiative and how did that whole thing start?
Well, again, good evening, and thank you, Tony, for having us. The Freedom Georgia Initiative, at its core, is a group of 19 families who started a LLC to purchase originally 97 acres of land, but now we have 502 acres of Black-owned land where we're building a sustainable, smart city for Black and Brown futures. So we are excited to share our story this evening. We really just felt like if we wanted to see change in the world, we needed to be the change we wanted to see. And so we are working together to build strategic partnerships and to really build a community that is intentional, that's about environmental sustainability, about food sovereignty, and about collective economics and cooperative economics, and as a Black community in the global African community.
Well, you're talking our language. You're talking our language. That's pretty. Now, when I read that, I said 502 acres of land. That is huge. That is absolutely huge. And I know it started out with 90, but then to expand that to 502 acres. And what I read about it was you guys initially, like, the city was on sale, right? Or block the city, or whatever. And that's kind of how the initiative started. And then you found this land, and it kind of sounds like the rest has been kind of history from there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we originally, go ahead.
Go
Now,
ahead.
as
Go
I
ahead.
said, originally what brought us to the area was Toomsboro, Georgia. It was for sale. There was a viral article that said for the price of a New York apartment, you could buy a whole city. And we got
Wow.
there, and there were all kinds of realtors, other, Black investors, people who wanted to start a city. And even though we didn't buy Toomsboro, which was 40 acres and about 27 or so different buildings that needed to be retrofitted, we purchased our land, which was raw, to build our own city.
Well,
Wow.
and here's the thing that has happened when you guys were on the radio, and I've been talking about this for a while. There was a couple questions that were emailed to me that people wanted to know, and both of them revolve around security, right? So what was posed to me on email, they said, okay, what are they going to do for policing, of the city? But more importantly, what are they going to do to protect this Wakanda, right? What are you going to do to protect it? Because people are thinking about Tulsa and the Black Wall Street and what happened. So what's the plan there?
Well, Tony, one of the things that we've done in strategy is a lot of the actual residents that we anticipate being a part of Freedom, a lot of them are veterans. So they have military experience and all of those type of things. And then we are also focused on uh, policing ourselves, but from a holistic standpoint, making sure that we are addressing issues versus, problems that may arise. Criminalize, not criminalizing those issues, but finding out and getting to the source of those problems in order to, make a different impact than what we've seen thus far.
And I think that's pretty powerful because what you're saying is we're going to get to the cause of these things that sometimes people use to criminalize us and crime and all that. And if you don't have to, if we can address those things, because I think what I heard you say is you want to see what this would be like if you took a city and built it from the ground up.
Yeah, so not only one of the things that she was sharing is just the simple fact that we anticipate having a lot of veterans. And one of the other things that is important to us is our Second Amendment rights, right? So when one of the things that I love about Kennesaw, Georgia, is that every homeowner is required to own a gun. And so one of the things that we want to do to protect ourselves is simply to access our Second Amendment rights and being confident in understanding what Second Amendment rights are all about. Because a lot of us as Black people don't get gun safety, don't get gun training. A lot of us are afraid that when you do that, you might become criminalized, right? But we think that it's important that everyone bears arms. Ida B. Wells said, the prized possession in every Black home should be a Smith and Wesson. And so that's one of the things that we're going to do is be ready and able to defend ourselves. And then, like Laura was sharing, having our own police department, because our police should be keeping us safe. And that's where the biggest problem in policing is today. But there's, as a municipality, some opportunities where we can be empowered to use our police department for our community's good versus what we've seen in the past.
So listen, they coming packing, Michelle.
Yes, they
Let's
are.
be for real about it. I love it. So tell us where are you in this process and in this development? Where are you in the process? What's going on now? What's the next steps? Those type of things.
August 1178 about.
Listen, answer that question, and then y'all go get on that plane because I don't want you to miss that plane. So answer that question. Y'all run and get on the plane. We'll have you back. We'll have you back.
Yes, we will be back. And so go ahead, Laura. I know Laura wants to answer.
We are currently in our first phases of development. Well, actually, our second phase of development. We, as I think we mentioned before, we parceled out 13 6-acre plots. We sold those to some people strategically that had been supporting the movement and wanted to be a part of what we were doing. And now we are getting ready to activate our architects, get our master plan finalized, and start the phase of development for our mixed use community.
Well, that's awesome.
Wow.
Well, listen, I wish you guys traveling mercy as you get up to DC. If you run into some of the folks that we know, listen, please, if I could connect you with George or Michael Roberts, I'd love to do that. And so you guys be safe and come back and visit us again where we can have a little bit more time to unpack it.
Yes, and we are so apologetic because we were so excited to talk this evening and get on to this call with you because what we're doing is super important for all people to realize that you too can buy land. Like, it doesn't have to be outside of our realm of existence as Black people. It's something that when we practice group economics, that's why we were able to make such a large purchase. I want to always encourage people, don't work in silos. You don't have to do this alone. You should partner with people and, do this work because it's good work. We should all be land stewards, especially if we want to make sure that we have a brighter future. And there's a million ways to get money with land. It's not just development. You can make money off the dirt, the trees, the retreats. There's just so many things. So we're going to come back and we're going to have a conversation about that. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, listen, if you, we're going to do that. We're going to hold you to that. So you guys go enjoy the Congressional Black Caucus. And
thank you for having us.
And then we'll have you when you come back. Okay.
All
Absolutely.
Right.
Thank
you guys. So what I want to do before we brought them in, we wanted to show just a short clip. And I don't know, Dante, if we have that queued up where we could do that. And then Michelle and I will come back and we'll have some more conversation about the Freedom Georgia initiative and some other things that's going on in our world today. Dante, what does it look like? We able to show it? I think I see it coming up in back. There we go. Dante, we don't have much volume.
97 acres. It's undeveloped, unincorporated, and it has new owners.
It feels amazing. It feels really amazing. I cry every time I come here.
Renee Walters is one of them. She's president of the Freedom Georgia Initiative. It's a collective of 19 Black families who recently bought this land. This dream all started a few weeks ago during Renee's typical morning call with her friend Ashley Scott.
She said, Ashley, did you see the article about Toomsboro for sale?
It turns out that the entire small town was never for sale, just a bundle of a few dozen homes and buildings. So Ashley, a real estate agent, looked for listings in the area and found one for this.
And it was just such a beautiful piece of land. It was affordable, and it just made sense that we could create something that would be amazing for our families.
Why were these two women interested in the prospect of buying a town in the first place?
It really was when we saw what happened with Ahmaud Arbery and George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and the protests.
We both have Black husbands, we both have Black sons, and I was starting to get overwhelmed and have a sense of anxiety when my husband would leave the house to go to work.
So watching our people protesting in the streets, while it is important, and I want people to stay out in the streets, bringing attention to the injustices of Black people, we needed to create a space and a place where we could be a village again, a tribe again.
Oh, the butterflies.
So Renee and Ashley reached out to family and friends, and together they bought what they intend to name Freedom Georgia, a new Black city.
We don't intend for it to be exclusively Black, but we do intend for it to be pro-Black in every way.
Jessica Gordon-Amard is an economist and an expert on Black collectives.
I've found tremendous benefits to individuals, families, and the communities that are involved in it. including, the economic stability and prosperity, but also leadership development, social capital development, other kinds of human capital development. And so it's really a win-win for everybody involved to be involved.
The owners hosted the Big Black Campout over Labor Day weekend. Supporters drove in from across the country. The plan is to introduce farming next, create a lake for sustainable fishing, facilities for recreation, and eventually develop a fully operational, expanded city.
By being able to create a community that is thriving, that is safe, that has agriculture and commercial businesses that are supporting one another, and that dollar circulating in our community, that is our vision. And to be able to pass this land down to my children and to the children that are represented by each of our 19 families as a piece of legacy. We're hoping to create legacy.
Victor Blackwell, CNN, Wilkinson County, Georgia.
Wow.
Well, there it is, Michelle. What do you think?
Yeah.
Matter of fact, anybody who's watching in the chat, man, put your thoughts in the chat there. So Michelle, what you think?
I think that's amazing. For years, my family has talked about having a property or a group of properties that's like the Clement family estate or whatever. But we haven't acted on it, right? They actually did it. Like they did something.
It's like when I interviewed them on the radio, it was like you guys had the audacity first off to say, here's a city for sale, let's go check it out.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And then when that doesn't work out, you buy 90 acres of land, right? And then now that 90 acres of land has now expanded to 502 acres of land in southern Georgia. And I agree with the Facebook user just put in there. This is amazing. To me, I'm just amazed by that. And the other piece is the collective, right?
Yes, that's the other piece I was gonna mention, is that not only did she have clarity of vision, but she was able to persuade other people of that vision and get them to use their dollars to buy in.
Well, and here's the thing for me. Here's the thing. We always talk about our buying power, right? So our buying power is I'm talking the African American, the Black dollar buying power is $1.7 trillion.
Right.
$1.7 trillion. Now, I was looking at it. Okay. So let's say a trillion seconds. Do you know how long a trillion seconds is?
No.
I looked it up today. A trillion seconds is 31,000 years.
Wow.
So when we think about trillion, that's a huge number.
Yes.
Right? So imagine what we could do if we got together and say, hey, listen, we're going to take our $1.7 trillion, buying power, we're going to do something. Here you had 19 families, less than 20 families start this off, and now have expanded it to 502 acres.
That's amazing.
And I don't know how large, somebody look it up, how large is some of the major cities like Atlanta. How many acres is the city of Atlanta? Somebody look that up and put it in the chat. How many acres is the city of Charlotte? How many acres is the city of Detroit? I'm just kind of interested to know. And that's huge. And now to start to build that up and other people buying property, and they mentioned how many lots they've sold and that type of thing. And so I just thought it was pretty amazing when I first heard about it. And then when I got a chance to really kind of interview them and talk to them a little bit for the radio program on Saturday, I was like, these ladies are amazing from the standpoint of taking action.
Guess what? Kalamazoo, Michigan is 16 acres.
The whole city.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they
16.
have 502.
That's a huge city. That's a huge development. 502.
Mm-hmm.
And and what they were talking about on Saturday is like, yeah, we want to build Wakanda, right? And we want to build Wakanda. And one of the things that came out in the short time that they were on the show today was, I mean, and I knew it was the military. They have military backgrounds, and that comes out very clear. Uh, so look, Nina, thank you for putting that in there. Charlotte is 199 acres.
Yeah.
199,000 acres, right? But yeah, it's just amazing what they're doing and the vision that they have. And my prayer is that they can keep that together, right?
Yes.
Because of course, when you add more people and people buying land, and
right,
you don't know, we didn't get a chance to really unpack. Is it going to have a mayor? What's going to be the kind of the
right,
political,
right, the structure,
economic, the structure of the
Yeah.
city?
Yeah.
What is that going to look like? But I think it's just amazing. And you're talking about thinking big.
Yes. Thinking big.
So, and we've heard it before, right? We've heard it before where they say that, man's greatest fear or is not that they'll set a goal. The problem isn't that we set a goal too high and don't make it. We set a goal too low and we do make it.
Right.
Right. But
Yeah.
this goal is really just audacious, man. I just thought
I got a lot of questions for them.
Listen.
Like, what happened when you went to the bank and said, we buying 500 acres?
Right.
Like,
how did that go?
How did that go?
Right. So Chris said, not a suburb, not a subdivision,
Right,
not a neighborhood, but they're building the whole thing from ground up.
from
right?
ground up.
From the ground up. And Chris is another military guy, so he probably can appreciate that. I think he may have been military police. I don't know. But I mean, it's just, he was one of the people who came up with the question about leading. And I think it's amazing. I think we definitely need to reschedule to have them back on so that we can really get a chance to unpack this. And so tonight ends up being kind of a teaser, right? This is kind of the show before the show, and we'll have them back and really be able to unpack it. But I do understand, they were presented with this opportunity at the last minute to go to the Congressional Black Caucus, which is taking place this weekend. The event starts tomorrow. And matter of fact, we will be doing the Roberts Innovation Group that I'm part of. We will be doing a live Zooming of the press conference where Dr. Roberts will be awarded the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. Dr. George Frazier will be also given the Lifetime Achievement Award for a second time. Okay. So he was first given it by Barack Obama, and now Biden is giving him and I was like, George, how do you get two lifetime awards from the president? Like, what did you do? How did you pull that one off?
Right.
And so, but it's just kind of amazing. I think it's an amazing opportunity for them to go, and I think they need to be there.
Yeah, they do.
They need to be there for sure, because that's where a lot of mover and shakers will be in terms of what's going on. So, yeah, pretty amazing. So let me tell you, there's a couple other things I wanted to that I would have done at the front end of the show that I'm going to do now, and we'll probably end a little bit early tonight. But I wanted to have a couple announcements that I wanted to make, and the first one is the master class. So the iPad Your Money master class will begin on next Monday at 7 p.m. I think there's a flyer for that. And you can register at ipadevent.com. It is free. If you have the book, it will be very beneficial for you. This is kind of the beta run, so we're making this one free. Once we get this thing down, then we in the future we'll have some type of price for it, probably $97. But it's 7 weeks, 7 weeks, a deep dive into the book, looking at all of the strategies that we present in the book. So that's one announcement that I wanted to make. The second announcement that I would make is we're doing something in conjunction with the Black Couples Getaway. It is a trust, estate, and estate planning and insurance seminar. It will take place next Thursday, a week from this Thursday at 8 p.m. The registration is right there. It's bcgmoneyknowledge.eventbrite.com. bcgmoneyknowledge.eventbrite.com. And so we're going to have guest speaker will be myself. We'll also have Alastair Edwards. Many of you remember Alastair. He'll be talking about the trust and estate planning. And so it's a part of the series that we're doing with Black Couples Getaway in terms of just increasing the knowledge of our people, to make sure we have those things in place. So those are a couple events that are coming up. A couple other things that's going to be coming up is here in Charlotte. You guys will hear more about this as time goes. Will be the All Black Convention, which is actually Dr. Boyce Watkins Convention. Will take place at the Sheraton Hotel here in downtown, uptown. Almost that northern northern came out there for a minute. I said uptown, the Sheraton uptown, and that will take place the last weekend in October. I believe that is the 29th, 30th, and 30. No, it's the 28th, 29th, and 30th. I do believe 28th, 29th, and 30th, and I think. I believe that I'm on schedule to speak on the 28th at Dr. Boyce's conference. I'm pretty sure it's that Friday. I don't know what time yet. So that's going to be a great conference, and so we're looking forward to that as well. And so let's see. I think that's pretty much all my announcements at this point.
That's a lot.
That's a lot going on. So, and as always, you guys know that we are. Then you know that we have the Real Money Coach radio show on Praise 100.9 that takes place each Saturday morning at 7:30 a.m. And this week, our guest is going to be. Her name is Toni Harris Taylor. And matter of fact, I have her book right here. And she is a networking guru. And so her book is called Viral Networking for Drastic Results. Several different authors who are in the book. And, just having a few conversations with her. I mean, she knows networking. I mean, she shared some things that were pretty simple with me that made a whole lot of sense. So, I mean, and, the thing about it, Michelle, is that people often talk about I'm networking. And her thing's like, well, who are you networking with?
Right.
Yeah. So if let's say, and I think one of the things that you probably talk to your clients about is their niche market, their target market.
Yep.
And so she says, what happens, most people are networking, but they don't network in groups that have their target market.
Right.
You network with other professionals that do the same thing you do. You need to be networking with, your target market, your niche market, and those type of things. So I'm looking forward to her unpacking some tips for us in terms of networking. And I think that's just something we all can benefit from.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So, Michelle, I think we could wrap it up for tonight.
What? Okay.
Can you believe that? I mean,
no.
We got a 30-minute show. Have we done that before?
Don't think, not 30 minutes.
Before. I don't think we've done that before. But if anybody has any questions or anything before we sign off, we could go ahead and put it in the chat or anything. The other thing that I've been asking for on the radio broadcast too is if you have some ideas of different topics or even different guests that we can bring on to the show, please share that with us. You can put it in the chat. You can email us at info@therealmoneycoach, and all those type of things. And finally, of course, this is really concluding Life Insurance Awareness Month. I've been talking about that all month as well. And so, and then we'll be into fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Q4, Michelle.
I can't believe it.
The year has gone by so fast.
So fast.
It's been amazing. So, Michelle, let me ask you this: since we have a few minutes, what should people be doing to prepare themselves going into the fourth quarter of the year? I mean, I'm talking, your business owners or just individuals in general. What should we be doing? Because before we know it, it's going to be January 1. So what are some of the things that you would advise your clients to be doing heading into fourth quarter?
So typically I call the fourth quarter the super quarter because most business can make a lot of money in that fourth quarter. People are ready to buy and people are ready to change their lives, like either personally, like before the end of the year, I'm gonna, before the end of the year, it is a chance for you to take a look at what has happened. And if you're not on track with the goals you set, or do you even remember
what those
from
goals
January, like what can you do now to close the gap? And you can accelerate in the fourth quarter is basically what I'm saying. So if you think of one thing, double it. Like if you have a goal of, adding 25 new clients, double it to 50. Because if you shoot for 50, then you'll end up somewhere above 25, right? So those are some of the things I talk about going into the fourth quarter, but also get with your tax professional because there are strategies that you can implement in Q4 that will help you with your tax liability. But you got to talk to them now.
Right. You can't wait till after the calendar year is over.
Can't wait till after.
There are a few things that you can do retirement wise that you can do up to tax time for the previous year. But most of the things that are going to give you the biggest advantages, you have to do those things before the calendar year is over.
Yes.
And so preparing yourself. And I always, people, I mean, we when January 1 comes around, it's like reset, right? It's like
it's a reset.
But here's the thing: you can't wait till then to ramp up.
Right.
You got to kind of ramp up beforehand, so that when you get to first quarter, then you're already going. You're already firing on all cylinders. This is your preseason for 2023. Right?
It is.
The fourth quarter,
it's your runway.
It's your runway.
Yeah.
And it's like finish strong, right?
Finish
strong. And I know I've even experienced a lot of times with me, it's like the summer months are a little bit lower because of vacations. And honestly, my wife doesn't teach in the summer, and so I probably don't work quite as much in the summer as I do, in the fall and winter and those type of things. That's kind of been my pattern, right?
Right.
And so, but I'm okay with it. But now it's just time to finish strong. And I believe that's Nancy Voice. Your choice is asking about how much is burial, how much, and I'm assuming you've seen how much is the cost of funerals climbing. And it's been my experience personally that the average funeral cost is somewhere between $10,000 and $15,000. And there are things that you can do and I'm talking from A to Z, right? I'm talking
Mhm.
from everything from the services from the undertaker all the way through, the plot and the vault if you're
Right.
in one of those states that require a vault. So the average is somewhere between 10 and 15,000. Now you can do it under that, obviously. And there's a lot of people that have a lot of different theories behind that. Some of them say, I'm not gonna put all that money in the ground,
Mhm.
all these types of things. But the reality is, you gone.
Right. That's
So,
the
so to
reality.
me, it's not a matter of when I say, well, I want my funeral to be like this, I want my funeral to be like that. I really don't care because to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord.
Right.
The funeral is for the grieving process of those who are living.
Right.
So my instruction is this: whatever makes you feel good, whatever
Yeah.
helps you to grieve, then do
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
Because I'm dead. I don't mean to be so blunt about it, but it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not gonna be like, y'all didn't put me away well,
Right.
and that's how we are, right? That's how we
Yeah.
are. People, we like, she sure did put him away good. Yeah, and he don't really know, he don't really care. He dead,
Right.
so hopefully you going on to heaven.
Right.
Um, and so so that's all good. What else we got here? What was that? Talk about what changes you have overcome since COVID. Long COVID has to account for claiming space in your home. It's interesting. I I've spoken with some people that really have experienced the long COVID.
Mhm.
Um, and I know some people do, some people don't. Sometimes it's a little bit more major than others. What about you, Michelle? You spoken to anyone that has those lingering
Um,
effects?
no one that I know has any long term that I know of, long
Yeah,
term effects from COVID.
yeah.
Um,
I know that there's some people that continue with a cough and maybe
mhm,
even some other health issues because
mhm.
I think for some people what happened, as I talk to people all the time about their health because I'm taking applications, I got to
Right.
ask them about their health, is that sometimes what COVID did, it accelerated
Ex-
other underlying
Yes.
conditions that they had.
Yes. I agree.
So, they may not have really suffered much. I'll use diabetes as an example. They may have been their A1C or their diabetic was not really an issue. And
Mhm.
then COVID comes along and now it becomes an issue.
Right.
And so
Right.
it kind of magnifies or creates some underlying health issues that then become more prevalent.
Mhm.
Um, and so it is a real thing, though. It is
Yeah.
real, and I do think that COVID has had a lot of different impacts on us financially.
Yes.
In terms of, here's the thing. This stock market deal.
Yes.
It is continuing to.
I was wondering if you're gonna address that.
So, what are you seeing in the news?
All red. All red.
All,
Just
all,
all red.
all red.
But I'm asking myself this question because I thought of it at the beginning of, like, not at the beginning of COVID because the markets were unstable then, but I would say about August, September of 2020, like the stock market was like doing nothing but going up the roller coaster, right?
Right.
It was just going higher and higher along with Bitcoin and all of that. And I'm like, y'all, we in a pandemic. Like, we don't even know what we don't know yet, but yet
Right.
the stock market is going up. Now, I think the realization of all the economic uncertainty is now bringing the stock market back to where it was pre-COVID. So all the gains that were made during COVID, I think is resetting.
Well,
What do you
I
think?
do think at the onset, prior to going into COVID, we had this
Yeah.
very high
Mm-hmm.
stock market gains, and it was what we would call a bull market, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it was just incline, incline,
Yep.
incline, and I do think that some of that was artificial, right?
Yep.
There was things that were being done to make really the stock market just go crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And so what many people call it is a correction. So
Mm-hmm.
now we've been in this correction
Yeah.
for months, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think same thing, it can happen even with prices of houses,
Yes.
where people are selling houses way over the even the asking price, people being offered those things. And so now there becomes a correction in the market. Now, when it's your money, it don't feel like a correction. It feels
Right.
like a straight up crash, right? It ain't nothing correct about me losing,
Right.
20-30% this year
Mm-hmm.
of my money. But it's just a
But
matter
look
of,
at where you were before COVID. Like, are you about the same? I don't know.
in many cases, probably so. In many
Probably.
cases,
Yeah.
but the one thing people don't want to be is they don't want to lose time,
Right.
because we can't get the time back.
We can't get the time because it was 2
can't-
years, right?
2 years.
Yeah, it
2
was 2
years.
years.
And so it's interesting times.
It
And
is.
so and Alice Martin said addressing the legal necessities of preparing for death. And when I see that, I think more of estate planning.
Yes.
And we're definitely going to get someone on, an attorney, to kind of talk about estate planning and all the different legalities of that, in terms of
Mhm.
everything from a will to healthcare power of attorney to financial power of attorney, and all these types of things that we need to be prepared for.
We do. Mhm.
And if we're going to really create generational wealth, then we have to have the whole plan in place.
Yeah.
If I were using, a football analogy, I mean, it's like, you know, investing is your offense, and, living according to your means is the defense. But
Mhm.
then estate planning is the special teams. And you need to be performing in all three phases of the game. Same thing here: saving, your spending habits, and then planning for it, so that
Right.
everything is in order.
Right.
Okay, someone said my money is a lot lower than it was before COVID, right?
Before COVID.
Listen, they said I ain't even with COVID. I'm under where I was with COVID. You need to, whoever Facebook, you need to talk to
Who
them,
is
right?
that? Who?
Well, we can't see it because of the
Yeah.
way they're coming in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there are people who are in that position where they're actually lower than they were coming in, because we've had really 2 years of a really rocky
Yes.
market. And when I look at it, and I look at the stock, and I see that, if you look at it for 1 year,
Mhm.
year to date, it's down.
Yeah.
If you look at 1 year, calendar year, 1 year, 12 consecutive months is down.
Mhm.
2 years is down. You
Yeah.
almost have to go back 5 years before you actually start to see some green line, where the market is actually today higher than it was 5 years ago.
Wow.
Because 1 year and 2 year is not it.
Mhm.
So, and yeah, so that's all there. I mean, we got some great questions coming in.
Yeah,
Now.
we do.
What will be the effects of people living longer?
Yeah.
That's a very good question.
That's a very good question.
So, from my perspective, there's quite a few impacts of it. Number one, that comes to mind is Social Security benefits.
Yeah.
Because when Social Security was first started by FDR, I mean, it was, you got Social Security at age 65, right?
Mhm.
But the life expectancy at that time was 68.
Right.
So, people would live 3 years on Social Security.
Mhm.
Well, today, people are living actually easily in many cases 20 years on Social Security.
Many cases.
I can think of people in my family, and perhaps you can in yours
Yeah.
too, that have been drawing Social Security checks for nearly 20 years. And
Yeah,
so,
now that I think about it, I know somebody 30 years. It's been 30 years.
30
She's been
years.
drawing Social Security.
I think I know who you talk about too.
Still kicking.
And doing strong too.
Going strong.
She ain't slowing down at all, is she?
Uh-uh.
So here's the thing. So the fact that we didn't collect enough money, that puts a strain on the Social Security system. Right.
Mhm.
So that's part of it. The
Yeah.
other thing is, along with that becomes things like Medicare. Because
Mhm.
again, the longer people live, the more they have
Right.
medical bills and those type of things. And so we do have to plan so that we can be in a position where our money, we don't outlive our money.
Right.
So looking at different strategies that give you lifetime income, regardless of how long you live, which is what pensions used to do.
Mhm.
I had a conversation with Adrian the other day about pensions and stuff. And pensions is not the same. I mean, we
Yeah.
don't have pensions like we did, like my dad or your
Right. Like
dad
my
or
parents. Yeah.
Whirlpool and these different places.
Right.
They don't offer pensions anymore.
Mhm.
And so normally you only see pensions in government situations where
Right.
state employees or school teachers or those type of things. And so yeah, so you got Social Security, you got
Mhm.
Medicare, and so your money just needs to last longer than it did
Right.
years ago. And so
Right.
I do think that's one of the impact of it. And then the other is the need for care, right?
Yes. Mhm.
Because people are living longer. They may need assisted living. They may
Mhm.
need some of these types of things. And it was at one time the average nursing home stay was like less than 2 years. Well, now
Right.
because of medical science and people living longer, that could be
Yeah.
longer. And so
Mhm.
again, that puts a lot of financial strains on different things.
Yeah.
Now, I do think there's some positive, right?
There are.
Because I am seeing more seniors and baby boomers that are in shape, are eating
Yeah.
right, exercising, living a full life. They got their right mind.
Mhm.
And so I think another impact is we get to enjoy them as part of our lives longer
Yes.
than maybe in years past.
Yes, I
So
agree with that.
yeah.
I agree with that. So
Awesome.
basically, I think people just need to get back to basics with managing their money so that they can free up money to invest long term and get out of debt.
Well, and I think that's what was in the chat there too, is pay off your debt, live
Yeah.
according to your means, right?
Yeah.
Buy what you can
People
afford
don't know what that is anymore.
to
They
live
just
within your means.
they don't even think about spending money because it's so easy to order Amazon. It's like push of a
Listen,
button.
it's so fun. We're in a meeting. I was in a meeting today with George, and we're meeting with a large church in Chicago. And this was the question that came up: is what is cash?
Yeah.
And for some people, I mean, for a certain generation, it's cash. It's the
It's
physical
cash. It's the
money. It's the
paper money.
coin. And then it became digital.
Mm-hmm.
And now some people say cash is Bitcoin and knows that. And then it said there is a generation of people that what they think is cash is how much available credit they have on their credit card.
Exactly.
And so we need to get these lessons out to folks of just simple money questions.
Just simple money questions. Yeah.
How to write a check.
People don't do that much anymore, which I get.
Yep. So and does anyone write in cursive?
Okay. No, this young generation does not write in cursive. They can't even read cursive. which is so annoying. But no.
So Harvey says that the tendency is to spend and go big before you leave. Right.
Mhm. Spend
So
it. I'm gonna spend everything before I die. But you don't know when that is.
right.
So you don't know when you're gonna be broke.
So if you spend all your money and then
Yeah.
you like, well, I thought I was gonna be dead by
I
now.
thought
I
I
ain't
was
got no
gonna
money.
be
That's not how I want to feel, right?
right. No.
So, but I do, and I've heard people say that is like,
Yeah.
well, spend it, you can't take it with you.
Right.
You don't want to take it with you, right?
No.
I mean, money ain't gonna do me no good because
Where
I'm
you
going to
going?
where the streets are paved with gold, right?
Exactly.
So money ain't gonna do me no good in my next life,
Mhm.
whether you go to heaven or hell, right? Let's be
Right.
honest. Money ain't gonna do you no good in
No
either
good.
one. But that don't mean you spend every dime you got while you're here, because what about the next generation?
Right.
So that they don't suffer and they don't have to struggle. And I think there's a balance in that too.
There is a balance.
There's a balance in that because I think sometimes the generation, the baby boomer generation, which is technically defined as people born between 1946 and 1964, many of them, especially that early part of the baby boomer generation, they're savers.
Yes, they are.
And they had to scrap and they had to save. They ate everything from the rooter to the tutor, right? I
That's
mean,
true.
they
Because
they
they lived through the Depression.
they lived through the Depression,
Yeah.
and not having a lot will force you to how to save
Right.
and make the most. And then they get to a certain age where, I mean, we
I
get to
know.
the point where the kids are grown on their own, even the grandkids is grown,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
And so now it's your time to enjoy some of that.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's hard because they've spent their whole life saving that
Mhm.
sometimes we have to convince them, you know what, it's okay for you to take some money out of this account and you go on a cruise.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Listen to this. This is go to that next one. I've seen this, right? She said my sister-in-law was upset that her father bought a boat and he was taking her inheritance, right?
Yeah.
Get your own inheritance. I
Right.
think there's a balance to it.
There is a balance.
There's a balance to enjoying the fruits of your labor. I remember one couple that I worked with, and I told him to take that, go buy a Cadillac. He had
Right.
always wanted a Cadillac, never bought a Cadillac.
Mhm.
And he went, he said, it's okay. I said, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
You know, and he went and bought a Cadillac and he enjoyed that Cadillac
Yeah.
until he passed. So it's okay.
It is.
You know,
There has to be balance, you know, because I have a family member right now who is like he was at retirement terminal. And now because he was waiting till retirement, he never did all the things he wanted to do.
Yeah.
So there has to be a balance.
Yeah.
Between, you know, doing some of the things that you really desire to do without being frugal, and then saving for the future. There has to be a balance.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's important to have buckets of money.
Yes.
Right?
Buckets
So
of
buckets
people
of
don't
money.
understand buckets of money.
Yeah. So I have this bucket of money. This is my bucket of money that I live off of. This is what I use to pay my bills. This is what I use to survive. And then I have this other bucket of money that may be the bucket that I want to leave as an inheritance. You know, and how do I leverage that? I mean, I think we also have to understand leveraging, right?
Yes.
And then I have this bucket of money that is for me to enjoy.
Yes.
And be thinking of it as buckets. So
yes.
And Harvey Jones says, $1 million baby policy.
Yeah,
For
$1 million baby.
You're supposed to leave an inheritance for your children's children.
Mhm.
And Harvey's right, you know, and you know, that is biblical.
Yep.
You know.
I can't wait till I get a grand so I can get one.
Absolutely. And we're gonna be ready for you too. Right. So and I do think that that's true. It's like, um, a wise man leaves an inheritance for his children's children.
Yes.
So that's
I agree.
generational wealth. But we have so many different tools that we could do that will allow you to do that and also enjoy your life. Because
Mhm.
I'm like a John 10:10, right? The thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but I come that you might have life and have it more
More abundantly.
abundantly.
Mhm.
And Pastor said something Sunday that really, I was like, oh man, that'll preach right there. I mean, I don't know if anybody else kicked, but we have to stop wearing poverty as though it's a badge of honor.
Thank you. Mhm.
Now, we love to talk about how the rich man, it's easier for the rich to get through the camel through a needle.
Right.
I'm messing it up right now for some reason, but through the eye of a needle, right? It's easier to
Right.
get a camel through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to get to heaven. And we act as though that the problem is that rich people, all they do is honor their riches and they do this, and they
Mhm.
worship their material things. But then on the other extreme of that, we have people that wear being poor as though it's a badge of honor.
True.
And I don't think either extreme. I think the reality is that we have to understand that we have a God to serve who is the God of all, right? Rich and
Right.
poor. He said it rains on the just and the unjust,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
And so so I think we have to make sure that we find that balance in the
balance.
truth, right?
Yeah.
Because don't wear poor. I mean, God didn't intend for you to struggle. I don't
Right.
believe that. But I don't think you, Harvey. But I think that we have to put everything in perspective.
Yes.
Have to put everything in perspective.
I agree.
And looking at this comment from Harvey is like, it was really thanks to you, Harvey, right? Because
Mhm.
you've taken the discipline to do the things that you need
Right.
to do. All I did come along and put the right tweaks on it to make
Right.
it work for you
You just put it in the right tool.
in the right buckets, right?
Yeah, you put it in
In the
the
right
right tool.
tools.
Yeah.
But you can't get, what do they say? You can't get blood out of a turnip.
Right.
So if you don't save and put money away for your retirement, then I can't come along and create a miracle, right?
Right.
I mean, I can't make manna come from heaven, right?
Exactly.
So
And
you
if you're not making enough to put away, something else needs to change. You gotta figure out a way to bring in additional income or increase your knowledge so that you can earn more.
right,
Right?
right,
Yeah.
absolutely. So there's two things to affect your cash flow:
Mhm.
spend less and earn more,
Yes.
right? And we just have to learn how to do those things.
And I don't want to really spend less, so I just make ways to earn more.
More streams of income.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So listen, it's 9:00.
I know. Look, we talked for 30 minutes.
We talked for 30 minutes. And thank you all for being
Thanks for
so
the
active in the
questions.
chat tonight.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. And Nancy, you're right. You never know when a catastrophe is going to
You
happen.
never know.
Mama
Look at
used
the
to always,
hurricane.
yes.
Why are you not prepared? You live in Hurricane Alley. Like, why you ain't stocked up on water yet? I don't understand.
You should stay stocked up on water.
I stay stocked up on water.
Yeah.
I'm getting ready for winter now.
Because you're right. Because growing up in Michigan,
Mhm.
especially out there in the country where I grew up, I
Mhm.
mean, it was nothing for us to lose power.
Right.
I remember the snowstorm of 78,
Mhm.
right? And we were without power for at least 2 weeks.
Wow.
But my mom and them were prepared for it.
Yes, you
They were
have to
prepared
prepare
for it.
for
We
it.
had a freezer full of food, right?
Freezer.
We couldn't go to the store. We couldn't get out.
Mhm.
And so we had a wood heater,
Mhm.
right? We had kerosene
Yeah.
lights, and we just lived in the house for 2 weeks.
Yeah. You
So-
got to be prepared, which is what we've
Prepared.
been saying. So
Listen, y'all, thank y'all for hanging out with us tonight.
yes.
All the way to 9 o'clock. Listen, we're gonna get Ashley Scott and Laura Cooper back because I do think we have some great questions and things that we would like to unpack with them. But thank you guys for being here, and it's been another great evening with all of you. So I'm the Real Money Coach with my A Spoon Coon sidekick Michelle Mitchell. All right, y'all have a good night. We'll see you next week.
All right. Have a good night.